At birth, every person who has lived on this earth began to feel freedom of choice. Simply at first. The decision is made based on strong instinct to stretch one's arm and investigate its purpose, or to whine for mother in discomfort or hesitancy. As the child develops, however, and becomes conscious, his mind expands into something complex and mysterious. Decisions, although intuitive, grow more elaborate, and so do his thoughts. There is a point in all lives when the uncomplicated shell of this world must fall away and reveal only questions. We realize the potential absurdity of life and wonder why we have been put here, whether there is some purpose for the experiences we have had, whether we have truly chosen to be in this place, in this moment, asking the questions which we are asking. And have we? I'm about to tell you that no one has, or ever has had, true freedom to decide. Some struggle with this idea that men do not truly have the free will which they have felt, and do feel, absolutely, in every moment. Others, once having examined the nature of choice, cannot bring themselves to believe that life is more than a logical string of actions and reactions. There is a clear incompatibility between these ideas, an opposition between a truth felt intuitively and a truth known by reason. Fate is the outcome of a particular situation for someone or something seen as beyond their control. It is a difficult topic to support with literature. Every book must contain events and circumstances beyond the protagonist's control, otherwise there could be no conflict. The writing is there. Every part of the book has happened, is happening, and will happen, and so, even when analyzing the work from its characters' real-world perspectives, every event in the beginning of the book leads to its following events, and all those lead to some always inevitable climax or resolution. Some works, like Oedipus Rex and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, directly and purposefully address fate. The latter of those writings uses a splendid metaphor for one part that fate plays in its characters' lives. Guildenstern says, "We can move, of course, change direction, rattle about, but our movement is contained within a larger one that carries us along as inexorably as the wind and current." He means that no matter what free actions the men take, they will always arrive at the same outcome. And this is true for them. They live within an already written story. Still, it seems ridiculous to say that we could have a future so determined as theirs. There can be no supreme author to have already written an ending for every person's story, as was done for Guildenstern, Rosencrantz, and Oedipus. However, Tom Stoppard and Sophocles both came to a common and sensible consensus that all people have undeniable freedom of action, but no freedom over the consequences and conclusions of their actions. Perhaps the true root of fate is our inability to return to the past, the inability to undo the consequences of former choices and actions. Consider a coin flip. Every time the coin is tossed, there is a chance that it could land on either heads or tails. Once it lands on heads, however, it can never be and could never have been any other way. The coin will always have landed on heads, and so, practically, it was always going to land on heads. This fate lies only in the past. A poem written by Emily Dickinson goes as follows. "We never know we go when we are going. We just and shut the door. Fate following behind us bolts it, and we accost no more." The inalterable decision to walk through this figurative door is now an inalterable circumstance of the present, and so we will always live having walked through it. We are all fated to live in this constant state of consequence. In every moment, we are experiencing only the aftermath of what occurred a second ago, or an hour ago, a year ago, or maybe lifetimes ago. The present is, without doubt, an extension of the past. Like a written story, the past is unchangeable, and so the present is unchangeable. Furthermore, because this concrete now will eventually become the past, the future is also unchangeable. The past has always determined the future. No organism alive since the birth of this universe has done more than observe and react to the consequences of the past. This morning, I decided on a whim to go for a drive between classes. There was no specific reason for this drive, no biological necessity or incentive for the drive. It was a simple desire. Where did this desire come from? I could have wanted to go for the drive, but in order to have complete control, I would have had to want to, and then to have wanted to want to, and so on into infinity. This is, of course, impossible. Every impulse and thought which we may have emerges into the consciousness from some unknown stream of previous events and thoughts and information and desires which are also out of our control. There can be no true, complete free will within us because nobody in existence could ever have intended to desire everything he has desired in his life. Every one of an individual's characteristics and values which prompt his decisions are decided by a balance of genetics and upbringing, neither of which are chosen by said individual. We will never be able to suddenly become a new person or to suddenly remember new memories. We are trapped within ourselves, and so will never have a way to have experienced a different life than the one we have already lived. The past makes the person, and the person makes the future. So, what? Are we all just specks of dust floating around in some sea of cause and effect? Is there a reason to live a determined life at all? Recall Oedipus Rex. At Oedipus's discovery of his rather undesirable, yet ultimately inalterable fate, he became determined to avoid such an event. He was consumed with a fear of the oracle's story, yet felt also a confidence that he would be the one to evade the inevitable. Oedipus went to great lengths to change his fate, and, upon learning that it had been fulfilled all the same, was devastated. He wonders how life could be so cruel as to cause so much pain, and to have planned it to be so at his birth. And how could he not wonder this? How can any of us be satisfied to live in a world whose nature gives us no option to alter our own fates? Without the ability to choose freely, there couldn't possibly be a point to being alive at all. Could there be? Remember, the future is not known. Consider a favorite video game, movie, or book. Every event in these medias is predetermined and pre-written by some developer or writer whom you have never met. They have specific characters, settings, and events which contribute only to a specific story which has one single predetermined end. You know all of this. You know that every moment spent experiencing the story is an illusion of possibility. Despite this, you remain fully immersed in the story, enjoying and finding meaning in it until the end. Although these works are entirely predetermined, viewership and participation are entirely necessary to the purpose of the work, just as one's participation in his life is entirely necessary to the experience of being alive. Although life is possibly just as predetermined as a written story, its illusion of possibility is a great deal more effective than that of a game, or a movie, or a book. There is no need to escape this illusion. Life can be enjoyable and meaningful even with a knowledge of human helplessness against fate. As written by Robert Pantano, I am not my perceptions, not my actions, but I am still the experiencer of the whole, an observer of a consciousness that can observe and navigate and find meaning in the world. The greatest and most beautiful illusion ever created and experienced, and I have a front row seat to it. Nothing changes. The illusion is real.